What will we see in the night sky this month,
Well,
Tony?
this month we have a number of interesting things. One of the interesting things you won't see, though, in the early evening are bright planets, though. Saturn and Mercury are becoming hard to see right after sunset, and there are no bright ones in the early evening. However, there are some that are easy to see in telescopes. So you do need either charts or a computer-controlled telescope that will point your telescope for you, which I guess are common now, but I like the charts myself. But anyway, the sky report that I record weekly that's on our website has links to these specific charts. So amateurs are doing excellent work with stacking video frames and actually getting detail on some of these using infrared filters. So here's a recent image of Uranus, and you can see a dark spot and kind of a bright polar region. And also some of the moons, I should have mentioned. And then Neptune, this is a beautiful picture of Neptune with actually some interesting irregular cloud detail visible. They seem to be getting better and better all the time. And then just coming up on the 3rd, we have a perigee full moon, which just means that it's closest to us, so it'll look 7% bigger than normal. Of course, this doesn't keep the media from going crazy about this. All right, it's a super moon. Get your helmets and you can watch it. Anyway, in the early morning, there are a number of bright planets, and if we look off to the southeast early in the morning, you can see Jupiter, which is very bright, and above it is Mars, which is faint right now because it's far away, but nevertheless they're easy to see. Again, using video stacking techniques, even though Mars is only, about 1/6 as big as it will be next July when it's fairly close to the Earth. It's already showing recognizable detail. You see Syrtis Major, which is the big triangular dark region, which is probably the most recognizable thing through a telescope on Mars. Jupiter is just becoming observable, and even with video stacking techniques, it still looks pretty fuzzy, but that'll rapidly improve.
Why would we send a mission there when we can see it looking like this?
Exactly. No enhanced colors there. No.
Yeah.
You can see these planets with the moon on the 13th if you get up at 5 in the morning. December 12th through the 13th is the Geminid Meteor shower. So you want to be watching earlier that night. The Geminids are pretty much visible all night. Around 7 o'clock, you'll see some activity coming from the east. And they're actually strongest at about 2 in the morning when the radiant of the shower in the constellation Gemini is almost directly overhead from here. You can see maybe up to 200 per hour if you're not in Los Angeles. So you go to like Joshua Tree, which only has a little bit of glow from Los Angeles, you might get a really good view. Now, if you're stuck in the city, you should watch because some Geminids are very bright. So what they lose in numbers from the city, nevertheless, you can still see a spectacular show sometimes with some of the brighter ones. Another thing that's interesting that's happening with this is that the parent object of the Geminids will also be making a close passage by the Earth only 3 days after the shower itself. So we have the rock comet 3200 Phaeton. I knew it as 1982 TB, I guess, for a long time. It was discovered by the IRAS probe. But I noticed that one of the observers of this stereo mission, stereo is solar missions where the two spacecraft are far from the Earth and can get views of the sun generally that we can't get from the Earth, but occasionally it's targeted to other things. And since we have the observer Jewett right here, David, would you tell us something about
even
this?
Before you came,
We've got the second person, Jing Lee, is my wife, who is right there.
Oh my goodness.
And then the third one is in Germany. So.
Oh, okay. And actually, when I put the slide together, I actually had no idea you were going to be here. so.
I just like rock comet.
But can you tell? I mean, I thought use this unique opportunity. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
So Phaethon is this 5-kilometer sized asteroid with an orbit that's kind of connected to the Geminids. So we think it's the source of the Geminids. It was discovered in 1983, as you said, by IRAS.
83.
From IRAS. And people have looked ever since then to see, well, is it ejecting material? You know, is it producing geminids now? And nothing was ever seen. The reason is that, again, you know, big telescopes work at nighttime. And when you're looking at nighttime, you're looking away from the sun. So actually Jing had the idea, well, maybe we can look using solar telescopes when this thing is right at perihelion. Perihelion is 0.14 AU, really close to the sun, 7 degrees away from the sun. But stereo can look at that. So she actually analyzed the data and made this stacked image showing that Phaethon is not a point source. If it was a point source, those green isophotes would be circular. But it's got a tail. You see a tail going down to the 8 o'clock position. And then, because it's kind of marginal, we can also show that as a movie. And you can see the tail and the object moving together, swinging across the sky. So there's no doubt that it ejects material at perihelion. That's the first time there's any direct evidence that it's producing stuff.
Wow.
And then the really cool thing is on the 17th of this month, it's December, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The 17th of December, Phaethon will come very, very close to the Earth. I think it's is it 0.07? Yeah, 0.07 AUs from the Earth.
About 6 million miles.
Yeah,
Right?
you can talk about that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Cool.
well. Okay. So this is how you'll hear about it in the news.
It's going to kill us for sure. Yeah.
Potentially hazardous. Right?
So it's not going to hit us, but
Right.
But we have a whole bunch of observations planned with Space Telescope. Where else? Keck? No, not Keck. Whole bunch. VLT in Chile.
Wow.
Just all sorts of telescopes are going to be looking at this. Radio telescopes as well in Hawaii to look for particles emitted as it passes the Earth, where we basically have unique sensitivity because it's just so close.
We don't expect any enhancement of the meteor shower itself, though, from this
Not from
passage.
anything
Yeah.
it's ejected recently, no.
Yeah.
No.
Then if we go to the next picture.
Well, we
Oh,
just
yes,
wanted-
I'm sorry. There is actually one thing here. If you notice, this is a common mistake that really chaps my hide, is it? Or chaps my hide? Whatever. It says, you know, the asteroid is widely thought to be the parent body for the Geminid Meteor shower. So it's a grammatical gaffe.
So
Okay.
when you
So-
speak to your friends about it, it's the Geminid Meteor shower.
Yes, thank you.
And then Tony will be happy.
That's right. And then here's just a perspective view of the orbit and how it comes fairly close to the Earth, and the comet will just follow the meteor shower by about 3 days. And this is a view, if you could magnify the Phaethon tremendously, just so you can see that how it changes in size and phase, it'll actually come through the evening sky. The 16th and 17th will be bright enough actually to see in a small telescope, and should appear to be moving, you know, fast enough that you'd notice it after a few minutes against the background of stars.
What magnitude was that?
Around 10th magnitude, I think,
Oh,
is what I've heard.
notable.
Yeah, yeah. There's a star party that night. Yes.
Yeah. Come see it through a telescope star party.
Yeah. And then winter's coming. December 21st. Now, it happens, you know, before we're open here, but we have other events going on that day. So if it's clear, we'll have a event at local noon where you can see the lowest transit of the meridian of the year on our Gottlieb transit meridian arc.
Transit corridor, yeah.
Transit corridor. And at sunset, we can see the southernmost sunset of the year on the inscribed lines that will be facing towards the east-southeast, showing the sunset position.